Okay, so I decided to come before you. I wanted to do this video. Really, no point intended with this video outside of just expressing how I feel about some of the things that are happening right now. Um, it's really hard. I mean, I've had the opportunity to go through many of the issues. You know, if you've seen some of my other videos, I talk about some of the issues, not everything that's going on, because there's just so much that I don't want to continuously just make videos about so many of the issues that we have. But as I go through the various issues in our economy, it's hard. It's hard to read about the things that are going on. I mean, it's hard to know what's true about various industries, how they're being ran. Um, it hurts. It really hurts. I mean, when you look at just the justice system, and police brutality alone is one that would make you cringe. The statistics and the history of how African Americans, how Black people are being disproportionately affected by our criminal justice system and police brutality. And it's not just brutality. I mean, we're getting killed. We're not just getting beat. I mean, it's become to a point where it's just another thing for them. You know, it's really hard to see that your government is even backing them and supports them and the efforts as they continuously and then don't even stand up and say what's right. Don't even stand up and support. We've lost so many lives. We've been through so much this year alone. And it's like it almost feels like we can't go through anything else. Like all the people that have lost their lives in COVID-19, then all the celebrity deaths that we've had that have been very impactful and detrimental to the just the mindset of our community. It's just unbelievable the things that are going on right now. But yet we have our government who can't bring solutions, who can't solve problems, who can't bring justice and fairness, which is their job. Your job is to really protect the people and make sure things are functioning fairly for everybody. But you can't even do that. Congress can't even get a stimulus check to get passed. You got Democrats and Republicans fighting because we're complaining because we don't want to give the people too much money. We don't want to give the people too much money, even though we've mismanaged COVID-19 and people lost loved ones, family members are dying, but we don't want to give you too much money. So we'll rather stalemate this whole thing out and let the people suffer, even though they've been suffering. With police brutality, still no justice there, still no police bill. Because we can't agree. It doesn't affect us, so we can't agree. But over and over, we keep seeing the same things. And what COVID-19 has done is it has really showed up all of our flaws and all of our weaknesses. It just put everything on the forefront. If you didn't know we had problems, now you know. If you didn't know that racism was a problem in America, you should know by now. And if you don't, it's just ignorance. If you didn't know police brutality was an issue in America, you should know that by now. If you didn't know the criminal justice system was unfair to minorities overall, you should know that by now. You should know that even sickness with COVID-19 is disproportionately affecting African Americans. Sickness is even racist. The virus, COVID-19, is even racist. And it's not really that it's racist, but Black people have the most underlying conditions because we refuse to pour into the communities of lower income families and Black communities and minority communities. We've refused to put funding to make sure that the hospitals are up to par and up to standard, and that we have enough hospitals in those communities, and that healthcare, not only is it affordable, but it should be available to everybody. When healthcare is not available to everybody, it hinders the whole system, because you can't have some people entitled to healthcare and then some people not because they can't afford it. Everybody needs to have healthcare. There are too many inequalities in this world. Every system that I researched, every time I look into a new a market or another industry, inequality is all you see. Everything is unfair for minorities in almost every system in America. But yet nobody is doing anything. And when we complain and when we cry and when we protest, they penalize us for protesting. Even when we protest peacefully, they provoke us. And they penalize us for protesting because they won't make the change that we need. And every time we leave it in their hands to make the change, nothing gets done. And so because they know that they're not making the change, they would just rather pacify us and say, you know what? Just put a black face on the ticket. And we're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be happy because you put a black face on the ticket. You didn't bring about change. You just put a black face on the ticket and said we're supposed to be happy. You haven't done anything. When you had the opportunities, you drop the ball every single time. When it comes to the things that minorities need, to the communities need. The education system, the inequalities in the education system, they should not be on the stock market. Education should not continue to rise. It continues to create the imbalance of the inequalities of why minorities and lower income families cannot afford education. And then you talk about, you get angry. They get angry because, affirmative action. We got to actually help you get in school now. So altogether, they want to invest in the education overall. When it comes to the teachers should have been getting paid more already. When it comes to schools, we've needed more schools for a long time. Schools should not be overrun. We should not have classes that are over 25 people. Statistics have already showed us that small classroom sizes are what's best. But yet they would come up with these fabricated ideas to truly push their own agenda, to say, we don't want to invest in communities, conservatives. We don't want to invest in Black communities and minority communities because we want to make them stronger to help them get up. Where is that true anywhere around the world? That's not true anywhere around the world. When you want to help your own family, you don't say, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you by not helping you because that's going to help you. Because that's what the conservatives think. We're better off if they don't help us. What? Where is that true anywhere in the world? We've put billions of dollars into other countries that were underdeveloped to help them to develop. We didn't say, no, y'all get up by your own bootstraps. But yet in our country, we would have conservatives and Republicans that would believe, well, no, if we give them money, if we give them services, more services means that they're going to be more dependent and it's going to make them weak. So we would prefer for them to get up by their own bootstraps. Well, you didn't do that for your own people even. You invested in your own people after slavery. You invest in other countries to help them to develop. You invest in especially after a war, you will invest in other countries to help them to get back on their feet. But you can't invest in Black communities to help Black communities get back on their feet. Our problem has always been we've had poor integration. After slavery, we had poor integration. They have never reintegrated Black people into the system that they've created. And still refuse to give help and don't want to give help, don't want to develop our schools. There's no way possible you cannot put money into the schools in the inner city communities and expect children to do better. It's just not even possible. But in the logical mind of the Republicans and conservatives, that's what they're going to believe. Oh no, if we don't put money into schools and if we don't give them services to make sure that they can eat, their children, for after school programs and food programs, regardless of the fact that they have food disparities in their communities, in the poor communities, if we don't help them, they'll do better. That's not true anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. Prison systems. We got prison systems on the stock market. That's a bad practice. That just means that all you're going to need is more bodies to put into prisons. So I don't know who came up with that idea, some rich white man, so that he can get richer. Because that's not a good principle. Not for this country. Because that really only means that you're going to take minorities and you're going to fill up your prisons with minorities. When the practice is to prevent actions, to rehabilitate actions, not to just put people in prison so that the stock markets, the people that are investing in stocks can become wealthy from people's poor actions. You'll never correct actions. You'll never correct and invest to make sure that crime is low when you have prisons on the stock market. Because the truth is we don't care as long as we're going to get paid for it. And even as our society, how is it that people are becoming mega billionaires during one of our greatest depressions, during a recession, during a pandemic? You got billionaires who are reaching the billionaire heights that they've never reached. They've made more money. Many millionaires and billionaires have made more money during this time than they've ever made in their life. What kind of system have we built that will allow people to profit on death, destruction, and demise of the economy, of people? People are dying. People are sick. People are not eating. People don't have money, but yet the people at the top are getting richer. How is that possible? Why is that not a problem? Why do not the government even realize that this is what our economy is? And they're okay with it. Because it doesn't affect them. They're okay with it. It's just, it's bad. Economy is bad right now. Even with women. We talk about in this economy, we respect women. No, we don't. We don't respect women in this economy. There's no respect for women. There's a lot of discrimination still. There's a lot of unfair practices still. We're the richest and free, one of the richest and freest economies, but yet we still have discrimination for women, inequality for women. Harassment is off the charts for women. And when are we going to reconcile that? When are we going to say equality is equality for women? When are we going to change the culture to not look at women as a sexual object? When are we going to change the culture to not allow women to be put into sex trafficking and then have some of the wealthiest men in our country involved in sex trafficking, and that's okay? When are we going to stand up for sex trafficking and say you're not going to put our children and our women in sex trafficking? And we're going to raise our boys to value women and their manhood and treat women with respect. And we're going to teach young women to value their bodies, not to value themselves according to WAP. That cannot be our value for young women. So we have many issues in this society. We have many issues in our economy. And a black face on a ticket is not going to suffice. It is not going to solve the problem. Because the truth is when I look at the Democrats and when I look at the Republicans, I'm sure many people feel the same way. We don't have a good solution. There is no good candidate that we can look at and say, okay, the Democrats has a good candidate. No, they don't. The Republicans have a good candidate. They definitely don't. So we have no good options to help us out of this. And what's sad is when you look at our communities, when you look at Black communities, minority communities, the number of cancer facilities, diabetes facilities, the percentage of people that have high blood pressure is astronomical in our communities. I can look at a map in almost every city in our state, in our countries, in our states, but within this country, and look at where all your diabetes facilities are. And I can guarantee you that you'll find your Black communities. I can tell you where every Black community is almost in our country, just by where our facilities are placed. Our diabetes facilities are placed. Sickness is rampant here, and we're doing nothing to solve it. We're pushing medication down people's throats as a solution that has nothing to do with healing treatments. We don't even believe in healing treatments in our country. So we're not here to heal you. We're here to treat you until the next time that you come back around. Matter of fact, healing is illegal for us. We can't even heal. We can't even talk about practices that heal. We can only give you surgery. And we can give you medication that ultimately you'll be on for the rest of your life. That ultimately is going to mess up your mindset. And by the time you turn 65, you'll have Alzheimer's or borderline Alzheimer's. We just have a lot of work to do. And the truth of the matter is that the people that are in office are not willing to do the work that needs to be done. Because work takes effort. For things like abortion, we would rather just pass a law and say, you can't abort. There are organizations that actually want to pass the law to prevent you from aborting your children, which I get it. They are pro-life. I understand. But at the same time, you have to look at laws and say, does that make anything change? It's easy to go lobby and get a law to be passed, but that doesn't change the nature of the mind of the people that are committing the actions. So oftentimes when it comes to many of our problems, we're passing laws when laws are not the solution. It only it gives us temporary satisfaction when the solution still remains. So you pass a law for abortion. Yeah, people can abort, but it doesn't change my mind to desire to abort or to change my mindset to not lay with people, with a man, or to not lay with a woman, or to not do the things that I shouldn't do, or to not use contraceptives, or to not use my body as an avenue to make money. You haven't changed the mindset. You just put a law. And so the greater work for these organizations are not lobbying to just push a law, but work, do the work to make sure that young children have the right mind so that they can make the right choices when they get older. And then you wouldn't have to worry so much about abortion if you did the work to put services and programs in place. So in our economy, we need more services and more programs, not less services and less programs. You would have people that will tell you these lies that we don't need more services and more programs, and think that they're going to make change by sitting up in big offices and facilities and passing laws and playing politics, and think that they're making change when they're not making change. They made it very clear. You had a black man in office, and probably the best black man that we would have got in office with Barack Obama, and he himself still made no real change. And I love that man. I do. So don't tell me you're going to get a black person on the ticket and we are supposed to be excited about change. Because if you saw my other videos, I've told you that the truth is that God is the only one that can bring this change. The change that we need. So we have a lot of work to do, not just passing laws, but real work to bring together organizations in collaboration to cooperate for common goals is what we need. We need to sit down and look at every issue that we have. And it has to start with the head of this country. It has to start with our government and the processes of how we do things. It has to start with our government and each branch. And how can we make each branch more efficient? How can we remove corruption? How can we put in things that help us to prevent corruption, accountabilities and checks that are public, so that it's not just we're checking each other in secret and in private, but all things need to be made public. And once we can get our government together and get the different branches together to function in fairness, to where our correction system and our Supreme Court and our judicial system and our judicial branch overall is functioning in fairness, making sure that everybody gets the same privileges when it comes to correction, that you're not treated differently because of the color of your skin. So we have work to do. My worry and my fear is the candidates that we have. I fear that the candidates that we have will not be able to bring the type of work to pass that we need in our communities and in this country. Thank you.